news.
Is this the fate of the wicked? To be tormented by the devil and his demons for eternity in a fiery hell? Is this the just judgment of a merciful God? Is this what the Bible teaches? What is the truth about hell?
This is my house, please come on in. It's time to cleanse yourself of sin. Get thee down upon your knees, cause non-belief is a disease, amen. Come all ye faithful, heed the bells. This trip could save you all from hell. Burning crosses through the night, come and join the holy fight, amen. So you hear your shepherd calling, my wrath won't be denied. Don't stand there looking sheepish, come and join the flock inside. Says these people are insane. Its only brainwash quite humane. 1,000 channels, take your pick. Another mystic lunatic, amen. Amen, brother. Think you can challenge me? Come on. I've seen them all off one by one. Old Galileo's long forgotten, though he was right and we were not. Amen.
This is 100% the Word of God. You can trust it 100%.
Deliver you from evil. That never was the plan. To those who fall for this one, deserve the lousy hand. Sleight of hand has kept the devil in command. Beyond those gates up in the sky, sign up now for apple pie. Amen.
Follow me. Follow me. Follow me anywhere. Follow me.
Jesus the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Well, you're a mystic sister and you've been through puberty, and you think you might be pagan and you want community. You meet a sex magician who tells you how it will be. He claims the door is locked and only he has got the key. He calls himself an elder but he's only 33. He's got marry me, he marry parts your legs to bliss it be. He says you best get used to it, it's part of the religion. You think he might be full of shit, but you're a trusting pigeon. He takes you to a circle and the priest gives you a shoving. Says we like polyamory and lots of carnal loving. So if you fuck my friends and me, we'll let you in our coven. And if you want some family, we'll put one in your oven. Which war? Twitch lore. Which war? Pitch score! Which war? Ditch gore. Is he a lady conqueror or just a soldier in a witch war? You think we get enough grief from the right-wing Christian preachers? We shouldn't have to fight each other like some feral creatures. I hear there's trouble brewing with the Boudons and the Wiccans. They're sacrificing values and they're sacrificing chickens. And some folks scam the New Age kids because they're easy pickings. A bunch of pagan characters right out of Charles Dickens. I thought that being pagan meant we all should get along, and that every path has value and there is no right or wrong. But every time there's power, there are those who try to grab it. Like someone comes along and takes a whack at Laurie Cabot. Some other fool shoots back like Elmer Bud out hunting Wabbit. They wind up coming off like Lou Costello and Bud Abbott. Which war? Kitsch store. Which war? Niche du jour. Which war? Switch roar. Yo, I ain't no carnivore. I got no stomach for a witch war. A couple women who were married to each other, and they were polyamorous, and soon they found another. And then a jealous friend of one of the third woman's exes started raising bad juju and casting nasty hexes. So everybody got to see what power over sex is, ripping at each other like Tyrannosaurus Rexes. And it harm none, do as you will must be the only law. And if you got a problem with that sticking in your craw, well, maybe you're a power monger trying hard to squeeze us, and you will not be welcome here until your witch war ceases. Cause everybody must be free to do as he she pleases, no matter if they worship Satan, Buddha, Bob, or Jesus. Which war?
Rich or
Which war?
snitch
Or which war?
bitch or
I can't take it no more. You better stop it with the witch war. Oh yeah, witch war. Are you a big predator? Witch war. Now tell me what's it all for? Witch war. Hey, who's minding the store? Nah, I can't take it no more. I got no stomach for a witch war.
Radio for your spiritual side. A twisted approach to the left-hand path. It was, we had Misfits. We had Loke E. Coyote. I've been looking for that song for a long time. Witch War. You'll probably hear it a lot on this show now that I have it in my my music collection. But as I recall, that song was from somewhere in the mid-'90s. I actually heard it on the Subgenius Hour of Slack. And there was, I think it was Starwood, some gathering of, pagans and other fringe groups in the 90s. And they played this song. And that was the first place that I heard it. And been thinking of it ever since we started this show. And, other times too. But definitely since we started this show, whenever we cover in these Witch Wars, we now have a song to throw on there.
And isn't there always a Witch War?
There's always a Witch War.
We will be hearing it often.
Loke E. Coyote. And luckily, I was able to find
like
it.
Like Tone Loke? L-O-C?
Yeah, let's see. Let me scroll down. Loke. Oh, wait. Well, this one's a scrambled Loke Coyote E. So.
What?
L-O-K-E.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. But luckily I found it on iTunes because only stuff that iTunes will work on my phone.
Why would they name themselves
right.
Loke Coyote E?
I don't know.
Instead of Loke E Coyote. Or like Wild E Coyote.
Well, in everything else it says Loke E Coyote.
Oh, really? Somebody
but
decided to scramble it on here?
Yeah, once it gets
Somebody
into
was like,
the
oh,
app,
no, that's not how it goes.
They decide they're going to mix up the names.
Wow.
Last name first name last, or something like that. I don't know. No, I don't know what they're doing.
No, the E goes in the middle.
Well, they scrambled it somehow. Joker to the right of me.
Clown to the left.
That's Marta.
I think they know that.
I'm Michael and other things. And welcome to Wittershins. If you haven't followed the show, then you don't know, and you could listen to the archives. But, there's been several shows where we covered this drastic controversy, and controversy upon controversy, all from a festival that's doomed to happen next weekend.
Well, this coming week.
This coming
Tuesday,
weekend.
So this.
Oh yeah, it's
weekend,
right after Valentine's Day, President's Day weekend.
Yeah, it starts on this coming Friday.
PantheaCon. That's right. That's why. Memories from PantheaCon 9 years ago are popping up in our Facebook memories. I get it. It's
exactly
that time
why.
of year. So, things coming to a head in all these stories that we've covered. And one of the stories that we covered and then covered and then covered again and keep covering was the deplatforming of Witch Doctor Utu from PantheaCon for cultural appropriation, being
just
dangerous.
straight up dangerous.
Being dangerous, and is there any other specific charges that we could? Even vague charges that we could specifically.
So you already named cultural appropriation.
Yeah, cultural appropriation.
You
That's
named
a
dangerous.
Good buzzword. We named dangerous.
Those are the two that come to mind, but there's probably more.
Yeah, and so that story led us to seek him out. Because, if somebody's dangerous, well, that's somebody we want to talk to.
Yeah.
Definitely. We're not timid over here at Wittershins. So we then met Witch Doctor Utu live with you. That was the first time we'd actually spoken in voice. We'd,
Isn't that when we
texted
did
back
everything
and forth.
the old-fashioned way?
And yes, that was one of those times when we had to go low tech. I think the first time that Christian Day was on the air, we had to go low tech too. I think it was your phone through the speaker, something like that. And that's ultimately how we had to do Witch Doctor Utu. I think we've got.
But we persevered,
Skype
so we
figured
made
out.
it work.
Yeah. I don't know. Skype from here to Canada wasn't working out very well that night, but we got it done. And was that the first time?
Well, first
That was the
time.
first time we had him on, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And the controversy's gone on and on about this book that nobody had ever read. And though there was a sizable free sample out there on the internet, it seemed most of the major players out there hadn't read that. I don't know anybody that actually knew anything about the fucking book except the title. The title, Conjuring, Harriet Mama Moses Tubman, and the Spirits of the Underground Railroad. A book we just got, yesterday?
I think the day before, maybe.
The day before yesterday? Oh, I gotta drink some water.
Oh, no, the day before was on Sunday. So, yeah, we got it yesterday.
Yeah, so we just got it yesterday. So, haven't, read the book cover to cover, but it's not a novel. And that's the only kind of book I read cover to cover for my entire witch career. I've never read a witchcraft book cover to cover. I flip through it. I do my own bibliomancy and see where I end up. And I did that, and I ended up, on the front, the back, the middle, all over this book, all fascinating things that I learned. And so, but before I go into to what I learned, there was a couple times we covered the Witch Doctor Utu deplatforming thing, and then there was the Orion gets belted because a longtime friend of Witch Doctor Utu's is Orion Foxwood, and we were clear, I believe, on this show. I don't necessarily like Orion Foxwood. I didn't really dislike him.
Well,
I
you
just
didn't
disliked
start
a
it,
friend.
though.
I disliked a friend of his, and my dislike for a friend of his led him to say some shit. And so it's like, okay, well, I guess I don't like you either. That's where you're going to be. But other than that, I really had nothing to say.
Anybody who's going to deliberately use his influence to talk shit about somebody he doesn't know, I'm done.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, and that was only, that was only a couple months ago, and I'll tell you how much I fucking thought about this issue at all. Turned out I was still selling this fucking book on the website, and I'd sold several. I hadn't thought about it, and then that happened. It's like, all right, well hold on, let me make sure I'm not, contributing to you in any way.
Don't be a Trump voter.
Yeah, so
vote against your
I
own
went.
interests.
I checked my fucking website. There were several things happening, so I checked my website. And sure enough, that book was still for sale on my website. I've done that with a few authors lately. I've paid attention. Being a part-time pagan gossip show host, I've had to keep my ear to more things going on. And so, there've been a couple authors that I had to go in there and find, oh, shit, I was still selling their stuff, too. And take them off the website. Luckily, the one that I really didn't like, she didn't have any books. She hasn't actually done anything except, own a shop, right?
Yeah.
Susan Dumbass.
He probably doesn't know how to write.
Yeah. He's just, so connected to her that he had to defend her by talking shit and cast a little curse at me right before it was known that we were moving to L.A. The one I don't like, Susan Dumbass, and Orion just happened to be heading to L.A. all of a sudden on this road trip where he cast out one of his little poems, the poetry of war, as the people of color community took one of the things he said back when he was defending, briefly and weakly, back when he defended his friend, Witch Doctor Utu. He used that. He used his little poetry of war, and he got called on it. He didn't know the mob of SJWs that he had just wallowed into. Probably would have been better off not saying anything than what he said. I mean, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. what he did say, and I'm not going to read all that because I think we read that back on, when go listen to Orion Gets Belted, and I think you can hear the majority of that statement. But now PantheaCon is upon us, and he's just twisting in the wind.
If we could be
and
flies
struggling.
on that
Oh God, I'd
tree
love
wall.
to be, because the stuff that we're going to have to follow lots of people that happen to be at PantheaCon this weekend just so we can hear all the gossip that's going to happen, because he's trying to apologize, and there was this thing he did where he came and he tried to. I can't read it all to you. I think we read it before, but he tried to sound like the wise person in the room, trying to seek peace and healing for all peoples, like Jesus would, right? No, it didn't go over as intended, and it shouldn't in a community of spiritual people, unless none of them are spiritual people. It's like you don't get to come in and be the wise person in the room. As I've seen, wise in biblical speak meant witch, wizard, sorcerer, this kind of thing. That's pretty much what the word wise means. You don't get to be the wise person in the room, otherwise people are going to call you on your shit. And, well, a whole bunch of, people of color didn't buy his apology. That was the group that brought it up in the first place, that he was responding to, and while
what did he call them? Called them some
he came up with this
name.
he came up with this diversity demon.
Yes, that's it.
He was like banishing. See, there's a problem when you try and be fucking vague and poetic. If people don't get it, they can come up with all kind of shit you said, man. So I try and be a little more fucking direct in my work. But, you're not listening to this show, so this isn't going to help you at all, Ryan. But there's this vague poetical speak that you use, just fucking you in the ass. Not in a good way. In this particular context. The direct approach would have worked out better, because people come up with all kinds of things, and it really, I didn't thought about it much until the social justice warrior mob turned on him and decided that the poetry that he used was a curse. I hadn't thought about it much. I was like, I guess the thing he threw at me, it was kind of a curse. I kind of thought, I was looking for a curse, but it was just so weak and vague.
I totally forgot about that dribble. Was that before
it had been announced, which we should not have done, and I don't know how we did that we were heading to L.A. And a week beforehand, for some reason, these two decided to make a trip to L.A. And that's why I haven't gone out of my way to reach out to stores like the Green Man or anything like that, because I know they're established there, and I know they went there and said, hey, the Corrals are coming to town, and they're trouble. Bitch, you don't know what trouble is. They're dangerous. And dangerous seeks out dangerous. And all these dangerous people are in the chat room. We got Christian Day's in there. I know Utu's in there. God, Jillian's in there. Wen's in there. Hello, all y'all. I'm not going to try and chat, because last week when I went in the chat room and commented, it locked up the app. They did some update, and I couldn't get out. We had to abandon the show and restart it. I don't want to do that.
And it was quiet for a while.
Yeah. So I see you all in the chat room, and hello to you all. Shout out to you all in the chat room. We're not going to jump in there and chat. We'll look in every so often and see what interesting things you're saying. But we got all these dangerous troublemakers, and our usuals, Jillian, Mage, all those people. Those dangerous troublemakers. They're all we flock together, right? I guess here we are on Widdershins.
I was just gonna say, birds of a feather.
Yeah, having a drink and just being dangerous.
I'm just drinking milk.
Don't tell them that. It's radio. God, you could have told him anything, man.
Well, you're drinking beer.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not drinking beer. I'm drinking double IPA. Just not beer. We went to brew school. We know the difference.
Whatever.
Okay, all right. The Joker to the right of me is throwing me off track here. But so all that shit's coming to a head at PantheaCon this weekend. all because Utu, who's not going to PantheaCon anymore, but got a better gig. What was that? Convocation
in Detroit.
Detroit. He got a better gig.
A much more legit place for the launch of his book.
Yeah. We're on the West Coast, but we're not that. We were from the Bay Area, but we never click with a lot of that. There's just I was an activist in the Bay Area, social justice warrior back before it was a thing, but not that. Not a mom. I always, when I went out into the forest, I knew absolutely what mechanism of destruction I was going to destroy and what damage it would wreak on the forest if I did not. There was not much debate. I knew exactly what I was doing. Social justice work, I learned a lot of things. And as we've said on this show, one of the things I learned is if you're going to be an ally of another group, you don't decide the fight. You ask if they want you to fight. And the majority of the shit that happened in the beginning, the controversy surrounding Witch Doctor Utu's book, were white SJWs. Maybe some of them were in ATRs or practicing hoodoo and getting involved in African shit. They didn't happen to be Africans. And
some of them were.
Some were. And the main one that started the whole thing had her workshop rejected from the same place that Utu had his workshop accepted. And I never will take those two things out of the equation.
And I probably wouldn't go around saying that unless you have proof, which you don't. It's just something you heard.
I think that's been proven.
No.
Okay. Well, okay. I don't know that, but I've seen posts about that. But any time that happens, and if that in fact happened, I run into a lot of curses in my work. They people come my way wanting to get that shit cured. That shit happens. That's why one of the reasons I just can't sit down and talk much with Wiccans anymore that want to delude themselves into thinking that all witches are nice, good people. And they may be nice or good people, but you may have pissed them off and they may fuck you up. That happens.
Even by non-witches.
Yes, even by non-witches. But if those non-witches had witchcraft, they'd be fucking throwing on you.
Yep.
They do anything they could rather than feel that powerlessness that they felt. If they had witchcraft, they'd fucking use witchcraft. And 9 times out of 10, when I find an actual curse, when somebody comes to me, the cause is jealousy. So if in fact somebody did have their workshop rejected and turned this way and caused all this thing to happen this way, I would totally believe it. It would be totally typical and very common. It's a believable scenario right away. At any rate, the people that I've seen heading this thing were not of the dark-skinned persuasion. There was later in the game, I saw Beverly Smith got involved, and then she sunk her claws into Orion's. And it's pretty much,
which I love.
Yeah, I don't know that she's gone back the other way since. It's kind of been the focal point for a while now. So, at any rate, none of these people had ever read the book. None of these people that I ever queried. Orion apparently read it because, we have all these
He wrote a blurb.
Yeah, these little reviews from authors. They're all very, renowned people in here.
That's what's great about his current backpedaling is it's in black and white right there that he wrote a blurb praising the book and telling people to read the book so he can do whatever the hell he wants to do right now. This can't be unseen.
The clown to the right of me has led me to have to do this. Conjuring Harriet, Mama Moses Tubman, and the Spirits of the Underground Railroad by Witch Doctor Utu is a rare and priceless literature treasure in contemporary published Literary treasure and contemporary published material on hoodoo and southern root work. Read this special tome to be educated, witness devotion, and the inspired by the power of this holy woman and her devoted priest, Utu. Let her spirit ignite your commitment to freedom and overcoming tyranny. Conjuring Harry Mama Moses Tubman and the Spirits of the Underground Railroad offers ample resources for magic. Most rears its head when freedom is most oppressed. Orion Foxwood. As usual, too poetic and vague. It's like really hard for me to even read it, let alone wrap my head around all the meaning. I know he's saying very nice things about the book, but everybody else, all of these people, these authors, I read them and understood what they were saying. Which I don't know.
It's one of those things where you have to keep reading the sentence over and over and over.
I mean, maybe that's the idea. Maybe that's the trick.
Yeah.
Try and get you to read it more times. I mean, if it's on the internet, you get more clicks that way. But I don't know, really how that's going to help. And once you bought the book, you bought the book. But yeah, there's lots of very renowned people. And we're going to talk about the book. Marta's perused some. I perused some. None. Okay, I've perused quite a bit, and I've got a couple spots that I definitely want to touch on in this book. And we've never done a book review. I've never done a book review, never on any of my channels or anything like that. I don't know. In your work, you ever done any book reviews?
I've always wanted to, but I have not. I've reviewed shows, I reviewed movies, I reviewed CDs, but no books. No books.
So we here at Widdershins, we took the bold step for the rest of the world and the SJWs of reading the book. Maybe not every part of the book yet.
We just got it yesterday.
We just got it yesterday, but as much as I could sift through, and I went through bibliomancy, and I got to trust my witchy thumbs to guide me to the right passages, because I hit on some fucking passages. And before I even go into that, we're gonna take a break. Before I even go into that, it's Black History Month, 2019, and that's what I'm getting in this book, right? Just in time, I'm sure that couldn't have been accidental. The thing just came out, I believe. Did it come out in February or did it come out in late January? I forgot when the release date was. But, well, it arrives in our hands, our signed copy, during Black History Month. And this is what I'm seeing in this book. It's a book of Black history, lesser known Black history. And definitely shit that I didn't know about, but I find stuff in there that I happen to know a lot of people of all colors don't know about, and those portions that I did know about I found very accurate. The other portions, it leads me to learn more. There's people I'd never heard of before that I need to know more about now. Fascinating stories. It's a history book. There's stories attached to the history. I love that shit. And magic. A whole other system. Stuff that I see in other systems, but expressed in an entirely new way. I'm not going to review it yet. Gotta play you a song or something first. Jesus, hold on, people. You're tuned to Widdershins.
I
you work like other folks do? How can I get a job when you're holding down two? Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Oh, I went to a house and I knocked on the door. The lady said, "Scram bum, you've been here before." Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Yeah, I went to that house and I asked for some bread. The lady said, "Scram bum, the baker is dead." Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. There I am in Spookaloo, city of magic, city of light, ensconced upon my front porch in broad daylight, long about noon, my rising time, drinking something of a potable beverage, playing my guitar, long after everybody else in the neighborhood has packed up their lunchbox and gone off down to Kaiser Aluminum to put in their shift. This enrages my neighbors. One in particular across the road, little retired banker fella, been known to cannonball his rotundity across the road and stand there and publicly berate me for my sloth and indolence. "Why don't you get a job?" he said. Some of you heard that, I'll bet. Now me being hit with the Socratic method fires back a question. Why? "Why," he says, taken aback, "if you had a job, you could make $3, $4, $5 an hour." I said, "Why?" pursuing the same tack. Said, "Hell, you make $3, $4, $5 an hour, you could have a savings account. Save up some of that money." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, you save up enough of that money, young fella, pretty soon you never have to work another day in your life." I said, "Hell, that's what I'm doing right now." Oh, I like my boss, he's a good friend of mine. That's why I'm starving out on the bread line. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Yeah, and I like Jim Hill, he's a good friend of mine. Say, that's why I'm booming down Jim Hill's main line. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I guess pretty soon I'll be headed back to Spokane, take up my task of wintering in, and I do a little light farming or heavy gardening, whichever. You know, that kind of farming is hard if you're in this traveling profession, and of course when you sing like I do, you got to be ready to travel with considerable alacrity. I got a Greyhound bus ticket in my back pocket all the time. But you see, quite often I'm not back in town in time for my plowing or my planting. That's awful. But now one time I was sharing a platform in New York City it was with a bunch of high-powered labor politicos. It was a benefit for the farm workers, that's what it was. I remember Richard Chavez, Cesar's brother, was there. And so was Bella Abzug, former congresswoman from the state of New York. Remember her? Wonderful woman. I mean, she was loud, vociferous, big hats. She was yelling at that audience, righteous beef it was, about how the feds, the FBI, had been opening her mail for ever so long. Well, I knew the feds had been opening my mail for at least 20 years, reading all my personal radical mail, and it never bothered me because I figured them birds had to learn that stuff somewhere, and it might as well be from my mail. But then it occurred to me in my predicament, having the FBI open your mail might come in handy. I sent Sheila, my partner, a letter through the United States mail, and I said in it, "For God's sake, don't plow up the backyard. That's where the guns are buried." National Guard rolled up, dug up the whole backyard in time for me to come back and plant the damn thing. Oh, I went to a bar and I asked for a drink. He gave me a glass and he showed me the thing. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Whenever I get all the money I earn, the boss will be broke and to work he must turn. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. And why don't you save all the money you earn? If I didn't eat to burn. Hallelujah, bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a hand out to revive us again.
I don't know how I played that, but he was a personal friend of mine. We shared the stage a few times. Wise man. And he could walk into a room of wise men and be the wisest guy in the fucking room. And that was his whole act. Learned a lot from that guy. But, you know, as I was taking the break and accidentally played that song that was very long, I went to the chat room. And, you know, as I said, you know, dangerous people, you know, they attract, you know, and opposites attract too, I guess. But I don't think we attract too many opposites here at Widdershins. But one of those dangerous people in our chat room, Christian Day, when we were talking about the thing that happened at PantheaCon, and we weren't sure about some of the details, and Marta was, you know, fact-checking us over here. That's her job over here in the newsroom, is the clown to the right of me. Christian Day said, and if you stop chatting for a second, it keeps moving. Chola Soledad, Irene McAlpin, whose workshop was rejected, complained that Utu's was there, and then got him deplatformed, and her workshop replaced his. Now, of course, we believed Christian Day right away. He's, you know, it's not like we don't have to fact check him. He knows his shit before he goes out there and starts shit. He has his shit wired tight. But our fact checking department over here, Marta, went and checked the lineup, and sure enough, she's on there.
The only thing is, I really have no idea if she was on there before or not, so I can't say if it's a new thing or if she already had a workshop or whatever, but yeah. Well,
I'd always heard that hers was rejected and that she's one of the people that spearheaded this thing. So, and then it says, so her workshop replaced his, and Beverly Smith and hypocrites and selectively apply their social justice ire while defending virulent anti-Semitism. Yeah. But they aren't the demons in the story. Glenn Turner of PantheaCon is. Glenn never should have allowed them, or program coordinator Jamie Morgan, Lori Bosham, to allow this crap to happen to begin with. Glenn is 100% responsible for allowing this viciousness to define her event. And it's poisoned the well of PantheaCon.
I really want to be a fly on the wall.
It's not something I would ever think to attend. The best part of all this to me is what Irene and Beverly got their buddies David R. Shorey and Tommy Starchild to fan the flames of against Utu. I've warned people you never know how a wildfire will take shape. I bet dutiful David Truckle and Tommy never dreamed that Precious Orion would actually take far more heat than Utu did. Their first brought their palm fronds to Irene, Chola, and Beverly's fire. Did I enjoy this little twist? Oh, absolutely. One of the fundamentals of magic is to be careful what you wish for. I was okay that I read the whole thing, but you know, there was so much in there. It was so juicy. I couldn't stop chewing upon it, upon the air, and it answered so many of our questions. And a lot of this, you know, he started it. Yeah, or well, he didn't start it, but you know, I've probably first heard of the controversy on Christian Day's page, or Witches and Warlocks, one of those. But especially since I signed on to be at HexFest this year, Utu kept popping up in the people you may know, and several of the other presenters there.
Oh yeah, he's been popping up in my feed for years.
Yeah, so
but I didn't know
he had been popping up before that, but especially after I was one of the presenters at HexFest, he's the right on top. I'm going, who is this guy? And I clicked on the thing, and I looked at what he was all about, and what the fuck that is? Really? And I'm never like that. Every I rarely find a type of magic I haven't come across or know a little bit about or know at least of its existence. The Utu's thing was totally Utu's thing. It's just his, so I didn't know anything about it. And that's what I found going into this experience when we first came to meet him and everything. It's like the people that I found having a problem were those Facebook witches or those Facebook high priestesses. You know, that's usually where it was. These Facebook high priestesses that have no self-control in their lives, no power, and they become a high priestess of some coven to wield some power, or they tell you they did on Facebook. Their whole agenda is to be, again, the wise person in the room. And if they're not the wise person in the room, they don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and they can't wax expertly or condemn expertly your work, they get very offended. They turn. And this I find on Facebook more than anything else, because I speak old shit that most people forgot and most people never heard in the craft. And as such, you know, people always go, what's your source? What's your source? I go, something some wise person said to me like 40 fucking years ago, bitch. I don't know. I just fucking happen to know. I happen to perceive these things differently than your average Wiccan. I have a way with witchcraft. I hear things and interpret things certain ways that equate to magic, and those things are always related to natural laws that you can't really fucking dispute. And I get in these fucking arguments with these people that want to be experts on shit that I said that they don't fucking know. So this is what I think happens with Utu. It's a path nobody knows anything about. And if they got the fucking book, they could see there are things in there they might recognize. There are elements of voodoo in here. Michael and Marta, here are the receipts. Okay, in our chat room, Christian Day has provided the receipts. The Irene, the workshop being canceled, Dropbox.com. Oh my God. You need to get into our chat room more than ever on Wittershins. And I think you can read it, you know, you can see it after the show too. But
it's halftime.
You gotta you gotta be in our chat room. There's some crazy shit that happened, and Christian Day just dropped the receipts proving all that he's said and the things that we're talking about going on at PantheaCon. I guess we have the receipts now. We'll have to check those out. I cannot click on anything in the chat room because that glitch might happen again that fucked us last week. Don't want to chance that until I know that they fixed the bug in this app that we're using. But I read this book. I find conjure, I find hoodoo, and I find voodoo. I do find these things in there, and they're all well established and cited from whence they came. This, I am not black.
Don't present.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Well, as far as I know, I got 7% African blood. But it's on Amazon. But this is Wiser, man. Wiser's fucking way.
Yeah.
Wiser.
Yes, I'm not saying to buy it at Amazon. I'm just saying I wasn't sure if it was already available for sale.
Yes,
and it is.
Well, I remember when it. Well, it was supposed to. He was supposed to have his book launching at PantheaCon, but Anyway, where was I? I find elements of these other crafts, but they're all well cited, and he all explains from whence they came. And I'm a witch. I look for witchcraft everywhere. When I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it on this show, but when Marta was studying Chinese medicine, I saw witchcraft there. I saw ways to use things she was talking about for witchcraft. Everything that I was just teaching one of my my online class at Witch School at Gumroad. we were talking about the charging of oils, and some of my theories on the charging of oils come from radio theory and radio science and the use of a dummy load to tune an antenna. This equated to charging oils in magic. In my mind, everything that I see how can I see magic in that, or how can I see the rules of magic reflected in that? That's my thing. I'm a one-trick pony with all kinds of tracks to run on. So when I see this kind of thing, I have no problem when I see elements of other crafts in a craft. I like to see them cited. I, as a witch, want to follow the trail. I want to unweave it. I want to know where it came from and what it went through to get to me. I want to know everything about that magic. When I was a kid, probably by the time I was 13, I was using Juan el Conquistador. High John the Conqueror. But it was Juan the El Conquistador for most of my younger days. I didn't know the other name for
Abre Camino road opener.
I don't know if I probably came across Abre Camino a lot later in life.
I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah, but that kind of thing. It's like, I've told the story. When I was a kid, I was probably 13 years old. I was a punk, and they had this law in Huntington Beach, California, that if you dressed a certain way, they could put you up against a wall, frisk you, and photograph you for this file, and search you and all this shit if you were a punk rocker. And this cop went in my pocket and got this little bottle of brownish, orangish powder, and he sets it on the dashboard of his car. "What's this, pal?" "You're busted now." I go, it's Juan el Conquistador. No, I think by then I knew what it was. It's like, that's High John powder. He goes, oh, really? What's that for? And I said, well, it's to protect me from evil spirits. Give me good luck. And he goes, oh, really, pal? And he's sniffing it. And he goes, so how that's working out for you? And I said, not too good, man. You're still here. That was my first night in a holding cell where my mom had to come fucking pick me up, 13 years old, because I had a smart fucking mouth and some apparently hoodoo shit in my fucking pocket. So I'd been using hoodoo shit most of my fucking life. Didn't know it was hoodoo. Most people didn't know what fucking hoodoo was or anything that was hoodoo for a very long time. With specifics of hoodoo, I didn't fucking know. It was just fucking witchcraft. And when I found that out, I wanted to learn where that came from. What about that culture? Give respect to the lines from which my witchcrafts come from. Fuck if Utu didn't do that here in this book. He gave absolute respect to every path that he followed in here. And I think more respect than I've seen some people give. Again, it's Black History Month, and this book comes out. And there's names here. Let's see. Captain John Brown. Do you know who he is? No, you don't. Mary Ellen Pleasant. Do you know who she is? No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't. You probably don't. I don't think many people. I know a lot of people don't know who she is. She's a West Coast connection here. The grandmother of the civil rights movement. John W. Jones. The quilt codes of freedom. That one was fascinating. The Quakers have these little patterns on their quilts that are sigils, and they mean certain things. There's signals, like you hang a quilt out to dry that has certain patterns on it. It's like, this is a fucking freedom house, or fucking this is this. And some of them have like magical connotations too, but some of them come into play in this the Underground Railroad thing. Yeah. I heard about an Underground Railroad. Maybe I learned about it in school. Maybe I heard about it on TV. I still always thought it was like one of El Chapo's tunnels or something with an actual fucking train running through it for a long time. It wasn't until way later in life, I learned there wasn't an actual fucking railroad. There was a network of places, safe safe houses, we'd call them now, that slaves would be moved through all the way up to fucking Canada. I didn't know where the railroad went. I didn't know that. It's just I knew about it, hadn't really thought about it, hadn't studied about it. Maybe I could have found out if I actually fucking looked it up. Because a lot of this stuff, when Utu's book first came out, it was easily verifiable. And a lot of these people talking all this shit and accusing him of cultural appropriation and all this, they hadn't even read his book yet. It's like the stuff that we knew about his book, I easily verified with a couple seconds of searches. Even late in the game, some of these, one of the SJWs that I just really don't respect anymore. I won't even mention her name. She had a problem. She brought up a problem with Utu using the word witch doctor. And, alluded that was, like an African thing. Like he'd appropriated that too. So, I don't know, kids. I fucking Googled it. You know how much work I had to do on witchcraft and research back when I was young? You fucking people have it easy. You just Google with the right fucking parameters. You come up with the answer in a couple seconds. The entirety of human knowledge is in the fucking palm of your hand and you don't fucking use it. Witch doctor is not an African term. However, maybe some of those people did Google it and went to the Wikipedia page and then didn't actually read, because the picture pops up on the Wikipedia page is some African witch doctors. But immediately, I believe, God, I almost think it was like Estonia or something like that. One of the first references to witch doctor was way up in Europe, and then it's used all over the fucking place. But it does not originate in Africa. It is not an African term, not anything that anybody owns. But that's part of the problems. Like these mobs in our communities, if we actually have them, I should at least expect them to know what the fuck they're saying before they attack somebody. I've taught my kids that forever. I teach courses on magical warfare and spiritual warfare, and I still fucking teach that. It's like, know who you're attacking and why. Do your due diligence before you fucking go off. And if your due diligence can be accomplished with a couple fucking things, a couple Googles, fucking do it. And one of the first things that I heard of people bitching about Utu's right to talk about these kinds of things because of his skin color. And one of the first things that I read in the book was about the Quakers' involvement in the Underground Railroad. I said, whoa, I never fucking knew that. I never knew much about the Underground Railroad, but I hadn't really looked, okay? So I was ignorant from just, not fucking caring enough, I guess. But when I looked, it was immediately verifiable. And if anybody, I know I've said this in every show probably that we've covered this particular issue, but, maybe it's my talking point. I need to fucking make it sink fucking in. For the Underground Railroad to work, you needed landowners. You needed property and secure houses to, they to travel at night, hide out, travel at night to the next place, hide out, travel. And I'm overly simplifying, but it was necessary for the Underground Railroad to function. Slaves had none of this. The Quakers had this. The Quakers' involvement in the Underground Railroad cannot be denied, and if it is denied, it's to serve an agenda that's not based on truth. And maybe, you need to serve that agenda that, all white people were evil and all their ancestors did terrible things and all of them owned slaves. I don't know. If somebody's ancestors were Quakers, at least, they might have an argument. Other people have made the arguments and been shot down, but I don't know. If you come from a fucking Quaker fucking line, the Quakers fucking kicked ass, and the Quakers had had religious beliefs forbidding slavery, as many and most religions do, but they had a conviction beyond the religions of the day, and they got involved in this thing, and it would have had to happen an entirely different way if it wasn't for the Quaker landowners' involvement. It would not have happened the way that it happened, and especially where the Quakers tended to congregate was perfect for making a railroad up in Canada by just, what I've seen. So there's that. And that was before the book came out. That was, that's some stuff that you could read in the online preview thing that came out. But none of these people had looked there. They hadn't looked there, hadn't Googled anything. They're attacking another worker from another tradition, respected. He's fully legit in his conjure knowledge and his hoodoo knowledge, and is fully legit in voodoo, and has gone through all of the proper steps and everything that we everybody else says, like, okay, well, you do the proper steps and it's not cultural appropriation, but somehow somebody got to throw that at him because of the color of his skin, not because of his work, not because of anything else. The fuel for it was the color of his skin. And I know we're not allowed to use the word racism for that anymore, but it still falls under the definition of bigotry. And intolerance for somebody else because of the color of their skin, it's still not okay. Attacking somebody's work based on the color of their skin, it's still not okay. It doesn't matter if you're the oppressed doing that. Just not okay. I don't know, maybe we'll have to come up with words to define this kind of thing. I believe in knowing before throwing. Yeah, I'm going to be like Trump and just rhyme shit all the time, make a little fucking slogan. Know before you throw, okay? Fucking Google, just know something. It's like, I've taught my fucking, even back when we were frowned on throwing, I still taught that. It's like, no. Know before you do that. Don't just do divination. Do a bunch of shit and really fucking know. Does it make logical sense that fucking that happened? Fucking something before you just start fucking throwing on people. And unless you're jealous that your workshop was not accepted at PantheaCon, well, then I guess it's not about knowing. It's about being a fucking dick. It's about using oppressed people to play your agenda. That's fucked up. That's like when people use rape that's not really rape to make their agenda. It takes away from the people that are really fucking raped. It's like when you do that shit, you shout cultural appropriation just to get your fucking workshop accepted at PantheaCon, where you have to pay to go.
To pay to present.
We have to pay to present. You got to pay for your fucking hotel. Really? Really? You threw another worker under the bus for that? I don't even know you. You're a dumbass, man. If this, in fact, is true, then you're a fucking dumbass. But here's so clearly I like his book. What I find here is a book of African history, specifically about the Underground Railroad, from start to end, more than I ever knew about the Underground Railroad, more than I ever thought to look about the Underground Railroad. But I was doing my little bibliomancy thing. I'm just like, I don't have time to read the whole book before showtime. What am I to read? And I said, Mary Ellen Pleasant? What the fuck? Really? Oh, well, now you got my attention, Mr. Witch Doctor, because I knew nothing of Mary Ellen Pleasant, but the first witch store to open in Santa Cruz, where I immediately landed a job and then became the manager of until we broke off and started our own shop called the Sacred Grove, was called 13 Real Magic. And the woman there knew not much. She was barely a Gardnerian first-degree initiate and was studying voodoo on site. And so she, from her, though, I'll give her credit where credit is due. From her is where I learned the first things about the Orishas. We need to know a certain amount of things about the Orishas because their products, candles, and other things had to be assembled in a specific way upon the store shelves because this one had an issue with that one raped the other one. Just like the Greek or Roman gods, man, they had a fucking history, and you couldn't have certain things on shelves next to certain other things, and that thing held consistent later in my own shop, and it held consistent in my other work, and those things that she taught me were true. She taught me other bullshit like, the great god Squat being a god of parking all the way back to Roman times. But we won't go there. It takes away from the point. But one time she invited me and my coworker Puck to go to this thing that was happening at the museum, the art museum in Santa Cruz. Louisa Tisch was presenting this thing about Mary Ellen Pleasant, the grandmother of the civil rights movement, and she has a monument in the sidewalk up in San Francisco somewhere that I'd never seen. We were like an hour away from San Francisco. I didn't know about that, and it was I forget what it's called, but there's this certain theatrical art where they embody the presence of a famous personality. And give a presentation and then interact with the audience as that personality, answering things that person would answer from the period. And I meant to look that up all fucking day long. I just never got around to looking at it, but it's a specific theater art form that was popular in, this would have been the late 90s. And happened to end up at the art museum in Santa Cruz. And it happened to be Louisa Tisch, who at the time was, the only one writing anything really decent on voodoo. Nobody knew anything really about it except for some shitty books that you could get from India and other places. But Louisa Tisch was doing this thing, and I walked in. And, we sat down. We waited for it to happen, and the lights went down. And Louisa Tisch lit a single white candle and made this theatrical move where you kind of wave your hand down your body. But I've known this most of my life as the way to project a glamour. This was a magical movement in my world, and it happened to be something used in theater too. And just palm up, you kind of waft your hand down in front of your body and then outward. She did this, and this woman, she was doing her voodoo shit, man. She had become possessed by Mary Ellen Pleasant, the grandmother of the civil rights movement. It was not an act. She was not acting. This was some fucking magic shit. I'd seen it, in my career in magic. I'd seen it happen several times. I'd seen many attempts at happening. Most of Wicca is trying to do this vesseling thing. Rarely do they actually achieve this, but a few times I actually saw it happen. Louisa Tisch was fucking on it. She was Mary Ellen Pleasant. She was channeling her. She was doing a misa. I don't know what the fuck you want to call that. She was possessed. And she came through, and I learned so much about Mary Ellen Pleasant, and I never forgot that because it was such a profound experience. And so that particular chapter in Conjuring, Harriet, Mama Moses Tubman, and the Spirits of the Underground Railroad, I read the entire chapter, and I found it perfect. There was a couple things I didn't know that I went and Googled and confirmed immediately. Anybody wanted to fucking argue, it's like, a lot of these other people in the book, I did not know. I never heard of before. I started looking up today, started learning some stuff. This, led this, very white-looking boy to, learn some more about African history, African American history. It's that month, right? Is that a bad thing? I haven't seen any harm yet these dangers of Utu. Maybe the danger was just keeping him out of PantheaCon. I don't know, but it was it was such a dangerous work.
Well, they needed to keep people safe.
Yeah, they needed to keep everyone safe. I don't know. I want to keep my kids safe. I want to keep my family safe, but safe has never led to a whole lot, in the world. I've done plenty right now. I'm cool. I'm just living. But not being safe has led to the adventure in my life that has led to most of my life. So I go, what is this safe crap? Where's this safe space in the world anymore? We have shooters come into all of our safe spaces and shoot everything up. There's no safe space. It's one of those buzzwords that they like to use. But they try to say that, they don't feel safe with him there. He's dangerous, that kind of thing. Same thing they said, in the same breath with Max Dashu. But so far, I have seen an African-American history book with characters and stories that I've never known, and they're fascinating stories, and I love them, and I want to read them all, and the ones that I've read are just fascinating, and it's all shit that I didn't know. I didn't know where the Underground Railroad went. I didn't know it went up in Canada. That makes sense, for historically, when Americans have to run for freedom, they run to Canada. I guess it started with the Underground Railroad. I had no idea. I had no idea that it ended up right where Witch Doctor Utu lives. And that Witch Doctor Utu is the main purveyor. Is that the word? He takes care of the shrine for those spirits at the end of that railroad that you didn't even know where the fuck it was. You might not know till you read the book. I might not even tell you that part. But you don't even know where it was. And this guy's up there maintaining its shrine. He's down here in New Orleans, too, being initiated and trained in all the proper groups. He knows from what he speaks, but still got called onto the carpet by this fucking mom. It was like any other time I see that happen. We are way up in hoodoo groups, and some that we've clashed with, and that's right at the start of Widdershins. There were clashes going on in those groups. It was some of the first stories we covered: the elephants in the room and tiger gates and all that crap, and ATRs and a majority of our friends. So we're always hearing the stuff from all these groups. I never saw any of this popping up in any of their groups. Never saw any of that popping up in any of my feed from any of these groups. Nobody seemed to have a problem with the Utu work. Matter of fact, I ended up talking with my old friend Candelo Cambisa about it, and he didn't have a problem with his work. He said, I had him on the show one time. I had no idea. I was on Candelo's Corner for I think like 2 years, but the show had been on for a long time before I came along with. I thought I was familiar with the archives, but apparently he had Witch Doctor Utu on his show before. It was me too. I was unfamiliar with his work, but I wasn't judging him. We met him first, and before even seeing the work, we came to know the man, came to like the man, came to respect the man, came to really be fascinated by his work, and then now we have the printed version of the work, fascinated even more. We're gonna read something from the book, and I didn't ask him. I didn't ask him permission, but I'm sure he's in the chat room. He's always in the chat room these times. There's so many. The chat room's really going off tonight. So if he doesn't want me to read anything from the book, he can tell me in the chat room. But hey, shout out to all y'all in the chat room. And if you ain't in the chat room, what the fuck's your problem? You need to follow. We've got this package.
Oh, okay.
At Spreaker.
There we go.
And our package is larger than we use in a common day. We've been holding back. We're saving. We can do unlimited 3-hour broadcasts per day. All day, every fucking day, with our package that we have. And we haven't done that kind of a thing in a while, but we do that when newsworthy events happen, when shit's happening in the world, when we happen to have some fucking free time or we're just fucking bored. Widdershins just randomly got on the air. And you know who knows when we randomly go on the air? The people that followed. Yeah, they know. But you don't know because you didn't follow. Now, if you're listening to us on iHeartRadio or with SoundCloud and the other one, I don't know what you do there. And the YouTube broadcast that comes out after the show, so it's not going to help you there, but you need to go to Spreaker.com/user/Widdershins and make an account there. You get notifications whenever we randomly go on the air. You can go follow us on our Facebook page at Widdershins Radio. Just search Widdershins and look for our logo. There's no other logo like that. Follow, because you never know when we're going to truly use our large package, and you won't get a notification, man. You won't get a notification. There was one time we randomly, just to test it, see if we truly had the package that we thought we had. We went like 9 hours, I think, one time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was rebroadcasting some shit from YouTube. It's not like we sat around for 9 hours talking on the fucking mic, but we broadcast for 9 hours.
Yeah.
That's the point. And those that didn't follow didn't know. And don't let that be you, man. Get on there. Uchu said go for it. Well, good. I was going to go for it. But we're definitely, there's one thing that I definitely wanted to read from the book. But that, of course, you cannot have the cuisine until it's the right temperature. Widdershins.
Just like you do, let the ritual begin. A light a candle, stick another needle in. Pins and needles, that's how I feel for you. Pins and needles, I hope you feel it too. I remember when our eyes first met. Didn't notice, but I'll never forget. Fingernails and hair from your brush. Well, I'd say it's more than a crush. Yeah, pins and needles. That's how I feel for you. Pins and needles. I hope you feel it too. Tonight you're gonna feel it too, yeah.
things are.
Yeah, most things are. Widdershins. Joy Division. What did we hear before? We had Stellar Corpses. Got to plug Stellar Corpses so they don't sue us. But nice little psychobilly kids. They're cute. Always liked
I don't know
them.
if I'd call them psychobilly kids.
I thought they were. Isn't it psychobilly? What would you call
they
what
call
they're
them.
doing? So I mean, like the Misfits is like horror rock.
Yeah,
That's
they're
what it
they're
like.
kind of horror rock.
They're kinda
But
horror
I
rock?
would call them more horror rock than psychobilly.
Oh, well, yeah, they're not really Billy, huh? Not that Billy, but okay. Stellar Corpses, whatever the fuck they are, but spooky little kids. Yeah,
So I would call that horror rock.
yeah. And they,
Yes.
how many years ago was it? It just popped up in my Facebook feed. Back in Santa Cruz, they were a local band, and
Well, it was when we were at the old location.
Yeah.
So
the one of the local publications was doing an interview with them before their tour, and they decided that they wanted to take them to the witch shop and have them get a tarot reading as part of the interview for this band. Guess whose shop they went to? It was like they gave me one of my cool profile pictures where I'm like ominously holding up this card and staring at them. I love that. It's black and white. This great little article that we just happened to be in because we were the witch store in town. And we've known those kids ever since. And they invited us. We got free tickets to their show. And we went and we were like the adults were like in this little caged area where you could drink. It was like an all ages show and shit.
and their singer, he's in our neighborhood. He's
Dusty.
only a few blocks away.
Dusty.
We haven't seen him yet.
Dusty Grave. Everything okay in there?
Uh-oh.
We got to play a song here.
Father, can you hear me? How have I let you down? I curse the day that I was born, and all the sorrow in this world. Let me take you to the hurting ground, where all good men are trampled down, just to settle a bet that could not be won, between a prideful father and his son. Will you guide me now, for I can see a reason for the suffering and this long misery. What if every living soul could be upright and strong? Well, then I do imagine there will be sorrow. Yeah, there will be sorrow, and there will be sorrow no more. When all soldiers lay their weapons down, or when all kings and all queens relinquish their crown,
everything's okay. But, you know, honey, clown to the back of me.
Yeah.
You know where this kind of shit doesn't happen?
Where?
At HexFest, a weekend of witchery in old New Orleans. You know that?
What do you mean?
This stuff
What
that
stuff?
we've been talking about. The fucking
Oh, yeah, fuck.
The
I
fuckery.
thought you meant kids falling.
No, not kids falling. No, they don't know about that part.
No.
Now they do. The fuckery doesn't happen. Join in the magic. Tales of the magic of the Crescent City of New Orleans stretch back over the centuries. It is an enigmatic place where voodoo, hoodoo, witchcraft, and even Christianity blend at the crossroads of spiritual power. On August 9th to the 11th, 2019, Brian Cain, Christian Day, and the Witches of New Orleans present HexFest, a weekend of witchery held in the heart of the historic French Quarter. The conference opens with a riverboat ritual and dinner held on an authentic steamboat on the Mississippi River, followed by 2 full days of workshops, drumming, and ritual at the Bourbon's Orleans Hotel, a venue riddled with the history of hauntings. HexFest has gathered witches, root workers, voodoo priests, and other magical teachers, not quite there yet, from New Orleans and around the world to offer their time-honored wisdom. Between workshops, attendees will love the magical shopping in our on-site vending hall, where you can purchase powerful ritual tools, signed books, exquisite jewelry, and spellcrafts, handmade by true practitioners. Okay, here's the part where I gotta get my breath. Take a look, clear up a lung. Presenters for the 2019 HexFest hail from across the spectrum of witchcraft and magic and include Brian Cain, Christian Day, Austin Shippey, Byron Ballard, Carriel Crow, Christian Steffens, Dorothy Morrison, the Dragon Ritual Drummers, Fiona Horn, Hoodoo Sen Moise, Lady Rhea, Laura Zempis Zakroff, Michael Carell, Melissa Mayhem, Patricia Telesco, Rosemary Ellen Gilly, Sally Ann Glassman, Sandra Maria Wright, Sen Elias, Sarita Deste, Star Cassis, Star Ravenhawk, Witch Doctor Utu, and Yeshe Matthews. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced practitioner, HexFest will help you discover the secrets of witchcraft and expand your mystery of the magical arts. Okay, go delete that "of" part. It threw me off in there, man. Edit. But hey, look, they added an extra part that needs editing. But whether you're a beginner, yes. HexFest. You got to come see HexFest, man. This is our first time in New Orleans. Actually, first time presenting for this kind of thing. I've done, I've been on the stage a few times at these kind of things, but never specifically presenting. And I got 3 workshops on magical warfare, and you should take all 3. You don't have to take all 3. There's lots of good stuff to see there and do there and that kind of thing. But you're gonna want to see Uncle Birch, otherwise known Michael Carell. You're gonna want to see that, and I'm finally gonna meet Witch Doctor Utu and Christian Day and all these other people who I don't even know yet. Who are really, our plan is to try and get a few of these people, as many of these people on, to interview on Wittershins before HexFest. We just got Skype working to a decent level. We found out we cannot up our internet from our current provider, so we're going to seek better internet.
I won't be here for a lot of the shows.
Yeah.
This is my last one for a while.
Marno's going to be on a secret mission, and yeah, we'll miss her. The clown to the right of me. I'll get Sasha to sit there.
Okay.
He'll get all offended if I call him the clown to the right of me. He'll go, "How could you say that about your own son?"
We'll get him to talk about Trump.
I think I still have it. I think it's in our car somewhere. One of when I left Free Radio Santa Cruz, I downloaded as much as my archives as I could onto a CD. And I don't know how long those survive anymore. I hope it's still intact, but Aradia, when she was young, and we had Aradia and Erastus as little kids talking about Bush and the Gulf War and shit, and it was just priceless fucking radio, and I absolutely should do that with Sasha.
Yeah.
Different radio, different generation of
We
chorales.
talk about the wall and stuff.
Talk about the wall. Sasha's got a lot to say about the wall. Now, as I alluded to earlier in the show, I grew up a long time ago in witchcraft, and the witch that taught me, Judith Dufresne, was so entrenched in witchcraft. She reminds me of like I am now, because I didn't fall far from the tree. I called her mom. She was my second mother. I spent more time in that shop than I spent at home after discovering that shop. She raised me in the craft. She taught me my craft. She taught me how to make incense and oils, and brews and things. And in that, I did not fall far from the tree. I opened shop. I went elsewhere, far enough away that it wasn't her competition, and I ended up opening a shop. That was not my plan. That's just kind of how, I found my calling early on, I guess. But I did that. And as time goes on, I find that some of the things that I grew up with, we now know as hoodoo. And we now know as, there are other folk magic traditions. I did not know that at the time. I don't think hardly anybody knew that at the time. But portions of what she taught was hoodoo. And then turns out my good friend Candelo, he has a god kid that lives here, Josh. And we were shocked by the small world that my friend Candelo's god kid lived so close to here, and that he was a restaurant owner, and we spent a lot of time and way too much money at restaurants, except when Marta's on her secret mission. We're going to save money. But we spent a lot of time, and we always have, at restaurants, and right near our house, my good friend's god kid had a restaurant. We finally went to the restaurant. We went another time, but he was out of town. But when we finally went to the restaurant where he was actually there, we ended up talking, and it turned out that this guy's grandmother, his actual birth grandmother, was this woman I was just talking about, Judith Dufresne. My witch mother was his actual grandmother, making my friend Josh Aaron the only one that I know of that had an actual verifiable hoodoo grandmother, because his grandmother practiced every kind of witchcraft known to man, including ceremonial magic and including hoodoo. And maybe that's how I learned to have so many crafts in my bag of tricks. Maybe it was just the way I was raised. I always thought it was me. I always thought it was something I came up with. Maybe that was just the way I was raised in my witch career. But most of my life I knew it as Juan el Conquistador. And Juan el Conquistador powder, Juan el Conquistador incense, Juan el Conquistador oil. And I always thought he was, some Spanish conquistador. He looks like, if you looked on the labels of the stuff back then, him with a sword and stuff, he looked like a conquistador. But as I got involved in ATRs and I started, I think when I first really saw it, my friend Candelo was reading this series of novels from called High John the Conqueror. And in those stories, I saw elements that I see in this story in Conjuring Harry Mama Moses, Tubman, and the Spirits of the Underground Railroad. My entire witch life, never knew this story, using High John, using Low John. There's another John he mentions here that I never used, hadn't come up. I'm studying that now too. Maybe I'll tell you about that. Maybe I won't. He told me to go for it. Told me I could say anything I want to hear. But it's 6:41, so I only have so much time. But this, from page 93 of all pages, getting thelemic with it. High John the Conqueror, the Prince of Conjure. Few spirits of conjure and root work in the Americas exemplify the elements of the practice more than the sacred spirit of High John the Conqueror. In life, High John the Conqueror was royalty, a divine prince of his lineage from the Congo. His noble status did not protect him from the warfare of times, however. He was kidnapped, imprisoned, and sold into slavery and shipped to the Americas on the Middle Passage. Once there, he demonstrated his unique strength, stubbornness, and unwillingness to be subjugated. He would not be made subhuman. No, he would fight and survive in epic fashion. He never relinquished his power to the torturers, never cooperated with the orders of the masters. His ancestral bloodline and its deities enabled him to overcome many things. If he was ordered to do a job, he refused. If he was confronted by his enslaver, he outsmarted him. If he was threatened, he showed no fear. If beaten, no pain. Stories of his strength spread amongst those held in slavery's chains. As he broke and defied every rule, his tales brought comfort and hope, for he persevered through horrendous ordeals set before him, and many times did so with humorous anecdotes which spread like contagion. His unshakable spirit would become legendary and inspire his fellow captives for generations. At some point, High John fled, not only his bondage, but his human body, leaving the shackles of slavery and the human condition behind to take his place among the clouds and stars, returning to his ancestral Africa from his place among the mysteries and glorified ancestors of his people. He could do more for those still in bondage than he could have as a human. From spirit, he could bless his people and alleviate their suffering, and left his power in the form of the secret root that could be used to call his spirit forth and enlist his aid. Even the great Frederick Douglass utilized this root while a prisoner to slavery, as well as one of the Conqueror's cousins while fleeing to the free North. This was his most sacred gift. He could be invoked at the cruelest and harshest moments of torture and beatings that the enslaved regularly endured, to take the soul of a person to a faraway place, removed from their body's pain and joining the ancestors high above the earth. There are many accounts of this very blessing that survive in slave narratives and interviews with those who endured well past emancipation. Now, have you read that before? I have not. This is a thing I've used my entire life. I have studied more of it since I became aware of hoodoo and started studying it than ever before. But those stories, whatever truth they have and whatever truth they don't have, I come from a bardic tradition. The story is what gives it power, and the story, a lot of it's true, a lot of it's not true. That doesn't matter. It doesn't work in our day and age of Trumpism. But back in the day, the story is what gave the thing its power. And although High John root has been extremely powerful in my entire life, I think it would have been more powerful having known that story. And being that he came from the Congo, that links him up to Palo, rather than just other hoodoo and other traditions. The Congo specifically, that's going to link him up to Palo, and I wonder. High John is a root. I kind of wonder if any of the 21 sticks of the Nganga are the branches of that same plant. I don't know, but it's going to make me want to look, because there's variations on those 21 sticks, and they all have a purpose. But if one of them was if we're using the root of High John and there was a stick being used also in the Congo tradition, I would really want to know that. And Utu's book leads me to want to figure that out. These are the books that inspire me. I have seen countless 101, witchcraft and Wicca 101 fucking books. And I try not to teach that way, and I never want to write a book that way, because there's a billion of them out there, and they vary on only a few points, and they bore me. I want to know new things. I'm not threatened by things that I don't know. Those things fascinate me and intrigue me and make me want to dig further. I'm not an internet high priestess, and if I can't wax expertly on your work, I won't put it down. That's what I want. I'm quite frankly, I've become bored until my wife haphazardly led me down this road to Africa. I'd become bored of European magic and the standard magics that I'd been brought up with. I knew too much. There were too many traditions I knew too much about, and too few traditions I knew nothing about. And I felt myself like Alexander. I wept because there were no more new worlds to conquer. And then my wife just randomly, hey, there's this Monanso in town,
Quote unquote.
quote unquote. It didn't work out to be an actual Monanso, but within that Monanso, I did see things that I've seen reflected in actual Palo. It was a gateway drug somehow to Palo. Becoming involved in Palo led us to our connection with Candelo. The connection with Candelo made me go to the Hoodoo Heritage Festival, and even though we don't like those people anymore, the connections that we made there and the experiences that we made there, they're all part of the journey. And now, a huge portion of my friends are from those communities, because of those interactions, because of the bad Munanso leading to the good Munanso, the bad quote Munanso leading to the good unquote Munanso, and leading us to become Poleros and Poleras and Tatas and Yayas, in addition to all of our other fucking titles. It all plays into my bag of tricks. They are different traditions. I don't mix them, but they're within Palo. There are openings. There are lacks of certain crafts or certain crafts you maybe haven't been taught. But if your Nkisi says it's okay, it's okay. If your Lucero says it's okay, they'll work with that. So I work all of these things, and sometimes I work these things together. But they all that initial step to the quote the quote Munanso that didn't turn out to be a Munanso, it was a necessary step that led me to a bunch of other things that fascinate me, and ultimately somehow that leads me to where I am now. And where I am now, I come across Utu's work. So in addition to a fascinating book of African American history that I did not know, there's technique. And there's rituals, there's things to make and stuff to do. And I'm not going to read this one to you, but I will in my my review of this book, I have to hit on the sword of justice, page 163. Maybe I got a thing with numbers. I don't know what it is, but I bibliomancy things, and that was one of the pages I ended up in. I was always taught, calling justice frees you from a lot of the connections a lot of the Wiccans and other people worry about, the threefold law, the Wiccan read, that kind of shit. As long as your shit is clean and you call forth justice, as long as you don't have any justice that hasn't been visited upon you that should be visited upon you, it's always a good thing to call on justice. But outside of those theories and those ideas, my tradition, and I know of not a whole lot of work out there that gave me any really cool techniques to do that. Witch Doctor Utu's book, however, Conjuring, Harry, Mama, Moses, Tubman, and the Spirits of the Underground Railroad, on page 163, has the ritual for the construction of the Sword of Justice, the material and tools, the invoking of the Sword of Justice. It's very long. Scripture, there's a lot to it. A ritual to go with that. With those theories, those ideas that I've always had, I can see myself incorporating those ideas of Utu's work. And we're at like 6:52. So I guess we like it. I like it. You like it?
Yeah.
I like the book. I find a fascinating amount of African American history, the history of freeing slaves from slavery that I did not know and want to know, and an entire magical system based upon the spirits of being freed from slavery and the spirits of freeing from slavery, which I think would be beneficial for many people, and important spirits to honor, and not just if you're of the skin color of those people. Spirits that we knew nothing about, and maybe we should be making pilgrimages up to Canada and making offerings at these shrines. Hats off to Utu. I'm glad that all this controversy led to pretty much epic sales for him, and I hope his work does well. And he's got other events now that he got because of the controversy that probably be more open to his views. Utu, thank you for your signed copy that you sent to me and Marta of your book. I'm glad to read it. I'm going to read the rest of it now, but I grokked it. It's very well researched, very well referenced, and I love the stories of the people that I knew nothing about. Historic figures that were not in my history books. I'm growing up here in America. Thank you for coming. Widdershins Clear here every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can reach us at widdershinsradio@gmail.com. You can find us at our Facebook page at Widdershins Radio, or just search Widdershins Radio in Facebook, and you'll see our very specific logo.
It's going to be just the Mike show for like 4 months or so.
Think like next week you won't be here?
Nope.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, anyway, you're welcome. Utu's thanking us. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for becoming a regular in our chat room. And Christian Day and Auntie Christy, who's kind of newer, I think. Kat, EP, Kat, Jillian Mage, EP. Wow, these people are going back and forth. It's like a whole social network that you're not on unless you follow Bertram Greenwood, Wid. Yeah, you need to follow Widdershins. What you got to say? Nothing. All right, we'll see you next week.
Long ago in a dusty village full of hunger, pain, and strife, a man came forth with a vision of truth and the way people to follow along. But the hunger never vanished, and the man was banished, and the village dried up and died. At a time when wise men peered through glass tubes towards the sky, the heavens changed in predictable ways, and one man was able to find that he thought he found the answer, and he was quick to write his revelation. But as they were scrutinized in his colleagues' eyes, he soon became a mockery. Don't tell me about the answer, 'cause then another one will come along soon. I don't believe you have the answer. I've got ideas too. But if you got enough naivety and you got conviction, then the answer is perfect for you. Sits joking on his discharge, overwhelmed by industry, searching for a modern day savior from another place, inclined for charity. Everyone begging for an answer without regard to validity. The searching never ends, it goes on